What's good, y'all? It's your guy Makai. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so please help me by subscribing, liking, commenting, all that stuff. Y'all know what to do. And today we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers and just some of the bad luck that they've experienced. And not so much that it's bad luck, but also just bad management. But a lot of it, well, some of it is bad luck. But I just feel like, at key pivotal moments, they just made a lot of bad decisions. And now we're seeing that manifest into just a bleak future for the Philadelphia 76ers. So I really want to start off in 2019. 2019, they had a stacked team. They had Jimmy Butler, they had Joel Embiid, they had Tobias Harris, they had Ben Simmons. They just had a really, really stacked roster, really great team that, could do battle with anybody in the NBA. And unfortunately, they ran into the eventual champion Toronto Raptors in 2019, but they did take them to the brink. They took them to Game 7, Eastern Conference semifinals. They took them as far as, as anybody could go, as two teams can go. And they just lost on a great shot by Kawhi Leonard. Everybody knows the shot, fading away, right side, baseline. And that was all she wrote. But it was the summer after this that I feel really spelled, the future demise of the 76ers, because it was time to, pay Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, a guy who you just traded for, a guy who's, bona fide all-star, probably was the best player on the team, if not the second best player on the team at the time. And you just don't give him a max contract. It comes out that they were worried about whether they can control him or not. So instead of giving, Jimmy Butler the max contract, they take that max contract, they give it to Tobias Harris, and they say, Jimmy, we bid you farewell, and then they get Josh Richardson back. Now, that move was really, really bad, because when you lose a talent like Jimmy Butler, that kind of makes it more difficult to win, because you're actively getting worse as a team. The team was still good, don't get me wrong, but they would have been a lot better with Jimmy Butler. And it's decisions like these that, it might seem fine in the moment. It might seem like, oh, maybe they didn't want to pay him all that money. But when you look at it, with hindsight, and they say, hindsight's 2020, that's the type of move that if you could do it again, you would do it again. And obviously you want to give Jimmy Butler that money. He's taken the Miami Heat to the finals 2 times since then. So obviously you would like to pair Joel Embiid with him. But, next year, more bad luck. Ben Simmons gets injured in the bubble. They get, routed by the Boston Celtics in the bubble. But that, injuries are going to happen, and you just can't, chalk it up to much. But then the next year in the 2021 playoffs, after they get past Washington, they, go on to face Atlanta. And against Atlanta, it's kind of a foregone conclusion, like, oh yeah, Philadelphia is way better than Atlanta. They're going to beat Atlanta. Atlanta only has Trae Young, and they're just not, this is no way they can lose to Atlanta. But multiple times in that series, they just kind of let their foot off the gas. Joel Embiid gets tired a lot at the end of the games. Ben Simmons is not showing up the way a star should show up in those games. And then they wound up losing to the Atlanta Hawks in 7 games. And once again, the summer after that is just filled with a lot of bad decisions. When you have a star player who, plays bad, it's probably best that you don't admonish him publicly. And if you're going to admonish him publicly, you better not be, his teammate or his coach. You better not be somebody who is supposed to be on the side, because that's exactly what Philadelphia did. Joel Embiid, made public comments about it. Doc Rivers made public comments about it. These comments, although Ben Simmons denies it, I feel like they played a, big part in him not re-signing with the team, or him not re-signing, but him just coming back to play for them at all. So Ben Simmons requests a trade. He sits out, most of the year. He's actually injured though, his back, but even after all of that, things are still going pretty well. Joel Embiid, took that next step to be an MVP type center, one of the best centers in the league, one of the best scorers in the league, consistent top points per game guy in the NBA, just the overall dominant force. And even with Ben Simmons, requesting out, you still have Joel Embiid to look forward to, and you still have the prospect of trading Ben Simmons for, a good package. And they had all kinds of packages on the table, but they ultimately decided to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. And then that trade, which I thought was pretty good at the time, because you're taking a guy who's not playing any basketball at all, and you're taking him and getting a all-star caliber guard who's, led the league in scoring, really great passer, fits really well with your best player, can space the floor, can, play make, like I said before. Just a really, really solid trade. But even with this trade, they traded for, a lesser version of James Harden, lesser than we were used to at the time, because James Harden, we were used to him averaging like 35 points per game. We're used to him averaging like 10 assists per game. The assists were still there, but he just, once that hamstring happened in 2021 to him, he kind of lost some of the speed that he used to use to, score a lot of the time. So that was what led to the current Harden that we see today, which, don't get me wrong, is still a fantastic player, but maybe just not enough of the punch to be able to take, Philadelphia to that next level. But even during that time, it was still kind of assumed that they would, do better than they did in the past. They would be able to finally break that threshold, maybe make the finals, or at least maybe make even the Eastern Conference Finals. So then they get James Harden. 2022, Joel Embiid, gets hurt. He got elbowed by, I think, Siakam against the Raptors in that first round series. But the Philadelphia 76ers still go on to win, and they go on to face their former teammate, Jimmy Butler, in the Miami Heat. And then Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat went on and, just beat them. And, we chalked it up to injury, but once again, we just saw how James Harden just was not the same guy. We saw that Joel Embiid kind of didn't show up the way you would want him to. But we said, he was injured, blah, blah, blah. So we move on to next year. This past playoffs, the 2023 playoffs, once again, they, make it past the first round. They face Brooklyn Nets. Joel Embiid, once again, gets hurt. And that's kind of a common theme. When it's really time to, buckle down and really make it to where you need to make it, Joel Embiid always seems to, not mysteriously, but just unfortunately, he tends to get hurt a lot. And then, the rest of the team are just left to pick up the pieces. He usually comes back, but not at 100%. And that was what happened this year in the 2023 playoffs. They went on to face the Boston Celtics. And even when Joel Embiid didn't play, James Harden had a monster game one, scored like 45, I think, and got them to steal a game in Boston, which was really, really great. And then Joel Embiid comes back, and they're still just, going at him really good. And they managed to, somehow get a 3-2 lead on the Boston Celtics. And it looks like they're finally going to be able to, break that threshold, make it to the next level, and not just stay in the same, second round exit that they've been in the past couple of years. But once again, in a pivotal Game 7, in a pivotal time where he needed the stars to step up, they didn't step up. James Harden shot really bad. Joel Embiid shot really bad and also kind of got torched on defense by Tatum. And it's just a really sad reality for the 76ers to be in right now, because you would think after all the great moves they made, they got PJ Tucker and all that, you would just think that they would be able to, make it further than they've been, making it in the past. But I just feel like the 76ers are going to have a rough time, because now James Harden is requesting a trade. He's saying he'll never play for a team that Daryl Morey is a part of. And I just feel like Joel Embiid, as a result of this, is probably going to ask out, because it's a lot to ask a guy to go through 2 trade sagas with, 2 stars. So maybe he looks at the writing on the wall and says, I want to go here, I want to go there. But I just feel like because James Harden is acting out, Joel Embiid is not going to want to sit there and pick up the pieces and just kind of go through a semi-rebuild, retool again. So I just think that the 76ers are in a lot of trouble, and I just feel like things are probably not going to go too well for them, moving forward. So yeah, if you stayed in this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.